So this is the out-of-box portal view when you come into Cherwell, not logged in. So, wow, hang on, that came back up again, didn't it? I'm going to go ahead and log in here in a minute, but this is where you can have people come without having logged in, and you can put up common information, your support hours, knowledge articles, and it's just not specific to your login yet at this point. Once I go in and log in, and you can set up trusted sign-on, we pull in the information from Active Directory, so this log on can happen automatically. The view changed a little bit. Now it's starting to talk about me as the customer. Before, when we were out on the non-logged in page, I was seeing very generic kinds of things. Now you can see these are devices assigned to me, these are my requests, I have an issue. And again, this look and feel can change, but the focus is on the customer. So there's a couple different areas I want to show you here. We're going to go in and look at how you can have knowledge articles set up. You can have a calendar up there if it's important for your business stakeholders and your customers to potentially see the forward schedule of change. You can have a calendar up here on the portal. Any of the dashboards and reports that we're going to show you later on can also be made visible on the portal. We have different charts and items up here as well. You can have top issues that are, in this case, they are problems that are opened, and subscribe to those types of things. So, the most simple thing that you can do from the portal is I have an issue. So let me just click on I have an issue. And the objective here is to make this easy and quick so that you can get the information in and start working on it. And we're not asking them for lots of information here. Does it impact multiple users, yes or no? And does it prevent you from doing your work? So notice we're not asking them for the priority of the ticket, because that often is not indicative of really the priority of what that ticket should be set at. So email is crashing, and I'll go ahead and submit it. Now, in that form that I brought up there for the I have an issue, you notice that I had a couple of fields here. Again, if you have 5 or 6 different fields that are important for you to ask your customer, we can add them to this format. But even beyond that, we can have things that are called specific forms that are available for you to collect information from your customer. So let me show you that a little bit as well. Go back. And when I do that, I'm going to take you into the concept of the service catalog. So a service catalog in Cherwell is based on services that you provide to your end users, a categorization of those services, and then a subcategory that helps you collect different information. And service catalog can be either requests or incidents. So going from the easiest one where you said I have to submit an incident and you collect a couple pieces of information, you can take them right into a service catalog where they can pick the different areas that they want to open tickets on. Some of these will result in incidents, and some of them will result in request tickets. And it's important once you get into the fulfillment and the resolution side, because you can have different SLAs and rules depending on whether something is an incident or a request. So I took you from the easiest one, which was the, helping the customer to prioritize the issue based on the scope and the impact. Where I'm going to take you here is into probably the bulkiest one, and just to show off the capability of collecting information from the end user. So I'm going to take you into a new employee setup. And we're going to see that we have a lot of additional fields that we have presented to the end user. So self-service is only as good as the information you're getting in, because the last thing you want to do is set up self-service, open it up, and the first thing you have to do when you get tickets from people is to hop on the phone and ask them really what their issue is. So we're going to collect some specific information here. I'll just fill in a couple of the fields. And then based on the things that I am collecting here, the information I'm collecting, we're going to see this later when we go into the admin, that I have different, in the back end, there are going to be different tasks that are generated based on the information that I have here. Now this computer type, you can have a little catalog of items that people can select from. You can associate costs with those, and you can also associate approvals. So out of the box, a new hire assumes that you need to get your supervisor's approval. So I can add different items here and keep collecting information as I go along. And each one of those can make a decision on whether a task is generated and specific work groups are assigned to it. So I'm going to go ahead and submit this service request. It opened up a service request on the other side. And I'm going to show you what that looks like out at the portal side. So in here, we can come in and see what the top alerts are. We have announcements. And one of the other things that you can do is view the status of your request. So let me go take a look at the open requests that I have. Gives you some information about them. And here I have one that is a new employee setup that I did earlier today. So what's nice about this is that there's information available to the end user, and they're not always having to pick up the phone and call to check on the status. You notice that I know what phase the ticket is in. I can see who it's assigned to. I have an estimated completion based on the SLA set up for this type of service. And I also have all of the information that I populated on the ticket when I opened it up. Additionally, I can see the different tasks that were generated for this different service request. So there's lots of good information that you can put up on the portal that'll help with keeping people updated and feel like they're part of the loop. They can also edit their request and go in and see a little bit of information about each of the different tasks as well. Any questions so far?
No, it looks pretty easy to use.
Okay. So I can do articles. I think knowledge was one of the things you guys were interested in. You can separate knowledge. It can be an internal or an external type of article. It can be visible on the portal or not visible on the portal. And the knowledge that I have in this tool right now is on knowledge brokers. So you can bring in canned articles. You can include screenshots. You can have attachments that are part of the knowledge article. If this did not fix the issue, you can go ahead and hit no log my issue, and it'll open up a ticket automatically for them. You can like or dislike the article as well. Let's see, what other areas are of interest to you from a portal perspective? I always like this one. This is top issues. Now this query can be set up to, the top issues can mean different things to you, and that query can go against whatever top issue to you. Out of the box, top issues are things that were important enough that the IT organization created problems from them, a problem ticket. So in this case, there are a couple of really nagging printer issues. They probably got 6 or 7 different calls in and said, look, we got to solve this once and for all, make it a problem. And I see this as an end user. I see, yeah, oh, look, they've already identified this. And guess what? It affects me too, my favorite pieces. So I can click on Affects Me Too. It'll automatically open an incident that has this description. It has me as the requester, and it links that incident to that open problem as well. So when that problem is closed, the incident picks up the resolution to that problem and is closed automatically, and a note is sent to you with that resolution information. Do you have any other questions on the portal, Bill? Have I missed any of the key points that you had in the agenda on the portal side?
Tiffany, anything that we go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see some of the extended reporting aspects.
Okay, so we can hit. We'll hit reporting when we go into the client side.
Okay.
Okay, and we can talk about that as well.
Okay.
All right. Anything else on the portal side? This is just showing you that any of the dashboards or some of the reports can be shown up here as well.
Yeah, because that's what we're going to look into doing as well, too, more reporting.
Is putting them up and making them available on the portal?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, anything else from the portal side here before I go down into the client? Okay, then let me go ahead and spin up a client here. So when you log in, so I'm logging in as a desktop, Cherwell desktop client here. I could also come in via browser client. I can access Cherwell via mobile client as well. And what this does is it brings me into a common dashboard area. Now this dashboard that's going to be shown to me is based on my login. This is kind of the show it off dashboard. This is just showing the capabilities of the dashboards for Cherwell in the tool. This has a little bit of everything in it. This is a global view dashboard that I have here showing all of the team's workloads, incidents. I see I have a VIP incident. It's showing me a view of SLAs that have been breached, so I can get to them pretty easily. And so this is more of a management view of their overall IT organization and the things that are happening operationally. Then there is a My Work one, and this one is more common to, you know, the level 1, level 2 people that are taking the calls, working the incidents throughout the day, and really need to be focused on what's in my queue and what does my team own. And so a lot of times when you have a technician view that logs in, you only see the My Work dashboard. So here I can see all of the open incidents requests. I see the change requests open by my team, incident and requests owned by me, tasks owned by my team. So this is very focused on the team and the technician and the work that they need to be focused on. These little queries that are running out here are really easy to update. They can sort. You can customize the columns that are shown here. You can drag and drop the different columns that are available. Down something that are just really powerful, and you see this theme throughout the Cherwell tool. You almost never have to create anything from scratch. There's going to almost always be something that is close to what you want, and then you may just need to modify a little bit. So if I wanted to edit this dashboard, what I want to show you here, I'm not going to get into a lot of editing. It's definitely something my team can do, but I'm not that great at. But what's important to me when I'm looking at a tool and what its capabilities are is I don't want to have to create everything from scratch. So if I look at what's out of the box here, I'm guessing that there's almost no query or view of the work that you couldn't at least use one of the existing dashboard widgets for. Whether it's the CMDB, whether it's My Work, self-service, And so these are all widgets that are created with queries behind them. You can drag and drop them over onto your dashboard and then update the different queries and the information that goes in behind them. So again, there's no code. It drives you through the different areas that you may want to configure on the dashboard or on the query in English and with already created queries for you. On the reporting side of things, I'm not going to go too deep on this call. I'm going to give you a little bit of, I'll give you some information about it out of the box, and then we can do a deeper dive into it if you want to go in there. For reporting, there are out-of-the-box reports that are already created that you can then modify or create from scratch. So let me take a yearly one here. Just going to run one of them. And so there's a report wizard that helps you set up what you want your report to look like. And it'll take you through what you want the query to be, what the graph needs to be, what your sort is, what your breaks are. And you can have different types of reports that are created from the tool. And any of these reports that are created can then, again, as I mentioned, the report can be published to the portal. It can be emailed out. It can be saved. You have lots of different formats that you have here. And so you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to be a Crystal expert or a business objects expert to be able to create reports with the report manager that's available here. It's also really easy to create queries and export those queries to multiple formats as well. If I was going to create a new one, I'll just start the wizard and not take you the whole way through, but it allows me to say what I want to do it against. In this case, I'm going to do it against change, but I could do it against configuration, incident. I could do it against change. It asks me what my groups are that I want to search against. Seriously, look at all of these already created queries that you can pull from, and you're not having to do those things from scratch. You can, it'll just drive you through in the wizard through a lot of different areas. Let me just pick one here and we can go one more further. Okay, so I think it's a really powerful tool that's available for free in the tool. Already has lots of things created for you and does have this wizard that helps make things easier as you're learning how to use it. So I was going to take you in now. I'll go in and show you if the technician experience for opening up an incident. And there's lots of things that are common to Cherwell that will hit as we're just going in to open up an incident. So one of the things I want to talk about briefly is this task pane that's over here on the left-hand side. You're going to see common tasks here, different actions that you can take from within an incident. If I was in a change, I would have change actions that would be here as well. A lot of these things are what we call one-steps, and they're a really powerful tool within the Cherwell tool suite. One-steps allow you to execute a step of actions in a string in order to achieve a function. So in this case, I can create a problem. And what a create a problem does is it opens up a problem, it copies over key fields from the incident, it links the incident to the problem, and saves that problem. So one-steps are really, really pretty cool within the tool because you can set them up to do lots of repeat common activities that normally you would just have to keep doing over and over again. I'm going to go in and open up a ticket. We're pulling this from Active Directory. In this case, I see a little crown here. Eric happens to be a VIP. Let me take you into his ticket, into his contact information if you want to see additional information there. So we're capturing this type of information, including some of the reporting structure, if it's available, so we can use that for approvals later on. Here's subordinates that are reporting. The other thing that happened when I put Eric in here is it automatically down here on these lower tabs starts to populate some information. So it automatically runs a query against Eric's open incidents and also the incidents that Eric has had in the last 30 days. So that might be valuable information to see if what he's reporting on is something you already have a ticket on. So the next thing, we put email issue from home. I'll just cheat and copy that information into here. The next piece of information I want to show you here is the classification, and it's pretty important because it can drive things like the assignment group and the specific forms that we talked about before. So let me show you the view of it this way first. We talked about the category structure being really a three-tiered kind of thing. It's the service, a category, and a subcategory. And based on that, you determine whether it's a request or an incident. So let me show you it as we're walking through it. Here are the top out-of-box. These are the out-of-box services. I'm going to pick email. So I'm changing a little bit down here. I'm going to pick mobile client. And so when I hit that subcategory, submit an incident, it created an incident up here as opposed to a request type of a subcategory. It would make that a service request and have a different SLA that's associated with it. But a couple other important things happened when I went down this chain, email and submit an incident. You can see that a specific field is shown here, and it's the common information that you want your service desk, and in this case, this is also visible, some of these fields are visible at the portal level, to populate for any type of email incident that comes in. So it's really a nice way to potentially force the, or at least suggest collecting additional information based on your history of what kind of information you need to speed up the resolution of a ticket like this. Some of these can be visible at the portal, but you can have other fields that are visible just to your technician that may be too technical for your end user. I'm going to go ahead and pick a person or a team that will be working on this. And you can have that automatically defaulted based on that category structure. So if all of your email incidents go to a second-level team, that would be populated automatically once I went through this classification. I'm going to give it a priority. And when I gave it a priority of 1, this major incident became available. And so major incident allows me to link other incidents to it, kind of like a major incident or a lead ticket concept. So you can have one major incident link multiple incidents to that. When that major incident is closed, it will automatically close the link incidents with that resolution information. The same concept as when you link the incident to the problem when we were at the portal. I can pick a configuration item, and we'll hit configuration items in a little bit here, but I can pick a configuration item if I want or it's not required. Now in this case, when I clicked on that configuration item, it brought up Eric Lambert's. These are the configuration items that have him as the owner of that. I'll pick his laptop. SLA is a really nice concept in Cherwell because it's really a three-tiered, you have 3 tiers as an option, but it does some decision making for you. So you can have SLAs that are associated to the customer, to the service, and to the configuration item. In this case, because it's Eric and he has a crown, he has a platinum SLA. My configuration item doesn't have, it's just a laptop. But if this was a core network device that keeps your email running, I may have a service level agreement on that CI. And I do have a service SLA target on my email. Now, in this case, because it's Eric and it's email, I have two different SLAs. Well, which one is it going to pick? It's going to pick the SLA that has the shortest time to resolution. So in this case, the target SLAs for response and resolution are based on that customer SLA. This concept of taking ownership, you can just make yourself the owner of the ticket. You can submit to the knowledge base from within the incident. You can track time if it's important to you to be able to continually accumulate the time worked against the ticket. And I can also set the ticket to pending, which stops the SLA clocks. I can look at the knowledge base. And so it brought the knowledge base up here. There are a couple different ways to look at it. In this case, it's looking at it based on the classification of the ticket. Well, maybe I don't want to do it from that. And maybe I want to do it based on the description. I can click on this button here, get the description gets brought over, and the search gets done against that. In this case, let me just do, I'm going to do email, so I get a few more that come back. So a couple things I want to show you here. If you want to, and if it's useful to you, you can put links to Google or TechNet or any of your tickets within the system. And I'll show you what happens with that. So here you see I have a known error or a problem that came back with an email in the description. I have open incidents. I'd like to make those closed incidents instead as my search and not open. And then I have knowledge articles. These are the cleaned up, approved knowledge articles that went through the submit, review, and publish workflow that's set up for knowledge management. If I click on a knowledge article, it'll take me into it. I can go in and see if it has any likes or dislikes. I can see that it has been published. If I like this solution, I can say use solution. It associates that with the incident ticket. And then when I resolve this ticket, it would include that as the resolution detail. All right. So here I brought this resolution information over from the article and put it as part of the ticket. So you can, here's where your configurations are. You can add more if you want, service level. You can have change requests initiated from your incident. You can link, you can add an existing one, or you can create a new one, and the same thing with the problems as well. There's journaling that happens within the ticket that gets tracked. This one here. I can add a new journal entry that talks about the work that I'm going to be doing. You can see that. You can make that any of the journal entries visible in the portal if you want as well. So that's a really fast tour around incident and some of the capabilities of Cherwell in general around linking tickets and knowledge management. Do you guys have any questions around the technician experience, at least at the incident view?
No, I don't.
Okay. Would you like to go into change management or configuration management or project?
Let's do the change management and then configuration management.
Sounds great. So change management, let me take you into a change dashboard. So there are different types of changes. They're very ITIL, normal, emergency, and standard are the three different types that you have within Cherwell. And they have different workflows based on each of those different areas. So I'll take you into those. It's just showing you a couple of the dashboards that can show that information in different ways. So are you doing change management today, and is it pretty formal, or is it more of a logging kind of a process for you?
It's kind of both. Pieces
Okay.
are somewhat formal, and it's somewhat just a logging aspect.
Okay. So, and that's okay. So we kind of have all three flavors here for you. So the normal is the heaviest one with the most workflow around it, and right down to the easiest one, which is the standard one. And so let me just do a real quick Visio here to show you that. So wow, that was way big. It's almost easier to see this from the from a high-level view this way. Well, hello. So a standard change that we're going to show you has no approval, and in that case you just pick from a standard change library. And it takes you through different phases, but it all happens at the same time with one person working it and no approvals. From the emergency perspective, we're going to go through a logging, classification, assessment, an implementation, and then and out of box is an implementation approval required before it's implemented. This is one of the common areas we see people make a little bit of a change to out of box. Some people say for an emergency change, put the approval after the implementation. If it happens at 2 o'clock in the morning, I trust my people to do that emergency change, and then we'll discuss it the next day. And in the normal change, it's a little bit more formal. So we're logging it, specify the type of change. We have an assessment approval, which says, is this even a valid change for somebody to move forward on? And then prior to the actual implementation, before you are approved for a certain date for that to be put into production, there's another approval that happens, an implementation approval that happens prior to the implement of the actual change. So those are the three different flows. Let me show it to you here in the tool. So let me do the standard first. That's the easiest one. We actually have a mergeable application that we overlay on top of change for standard change that actually is better than the out-of-box one. If you have a standard change, the out-of-box ones are a little bit limited. We apply a standard change template, and we provide, I think it's like 10 of them out of the box to make this a little bit easier. So the concept of a standard change is that it's something that is run routinely in your environment. It's been proven to have no threat or risk to your environment. You want to log it. You want to get it on the forward schedule of change, and then the person is permitted and has the accountability then to move that implementation through. So if I pick a common one like backup of a database, we predefined a description here that can then be populated additionally. We put a priority on it, and we've already given it an owner, and it's part of the pre-authorized change. So you can select a configuration item, your proposed start and end date, and then you can take it into implementation. And I'm going to save this. I'm going to go in and implement it. It just moves the phase into implement. Just a little slow VM here. Sorry about that. So it'll come back here in a second. And so then the standard just has this one form that you see here to go ahead and take it through the implementation. For the normal change, I'm going to have this type of classification, but it's going to stop at the assessment approval. Did
you break something?
I don't know. I'm locked up on my VM here. We were cruising along. Oh, there we are. We're back. I don't know what that was. So let me go back up here and put this up larger again. And so at that point, I can close it. So the easiest one. The more difficult one is the normal. And I'll just take you through this for a second. Admin server might be an example. I'll propose some dates. Select the team. And at this point, then I can go ahead and put this into an assessment. So I can move it on into an assessment phase and click Next here. And it sort of has a wizard-driven effect here so that you don't inundated with all of the different fields that could go into a change ticket all at one time. So I'm going to put a risk here, none, backup plan, C file, folder, okay. And at that point, I am ready to submit this for approval. I'm going to give it an owner of the change, which I hadn't done at that point yet. Okay. And so now I have an approval pending for the assessment. And so I'm not going to take you through all of these, the different stages of approval, but in approval now, I have a person that's approver. You can have different groups set up. You can have an assessment group, the approval of the assessment, and a different approval group like the CAB, the Change Advisory Board, for the final implementation approval. And the approvals can be done where you can do, if you're in a CAB, if you have a CAB meeting, you can do show of hands, or you can say one person of that group makes it approved, or you can say what % of the group has to approve before it's deemed approved to move forward. So there are a lot of nice approval rules that you can put into place as well. You get notification on these approvals via email. You can approve via email as well. So that's the normal. It's going to go through the approval, the assessment, and then it's going to go through implementation before it goes into a review. And then the other type of change is the emergency. I'm not going to take you through this too much. It's going to be exactly the same as a normal, and I'll show you the expanded view so you can see the different fields that would be populated. It's the same as the normal, but it doesn't expect an assessment approval. The assumption is emergency has to be done because there's a current incident happening or a problem happening that needs to be resolved by it. So these are the fields that are collected throughout the life of the change. We're assessing it, implementation plan, acceptance plan, implementer notes, the dates, and then there's a review. Usually, I think the default is a week after the change is implemented. So do you have any questions about change? And I can send you the different workflows that are associated with each one of these as well. You want me to go into configuration? You guys still there?
Richard?
Yeah. Yeah, configuration is good.
Okay.
Sorry, I stepped away from my desk for a second.
No problem.
You know the second you step away is when someone's going to call on you.
Are you back, Tiffany, or should I wait a minute?
So give me just a second.
Okay.
All right, I'm back. Let's go. I'm sorry.
No problem. I had said too, I can send you the workflows for the change. It's kind of hard sometimes when you're going screen by screen by screen to really understand what the forest looks like on all of that. And so I'll send you over the normal standard emergency workflow Visio so you can see what those different phases and approvals are. So next I was going to go into config unless you had other questions on change.
I'm good. Richard, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So CMDB in Cherwell, there are multiple different device types that are device objects that are out of the box. And each one of them has a little bit of a different set of attributes that go with it, as you can imagine. I mean, computers are going to look different than servers. They're going to have some of the same attributes, but some other things are going to be different. That CMDB can be populated in lots of different ways. We can do it through scheduled imports. We can do a tighter integration with something like Cherwell's Express Metrics or SCCM or Altiris. Those are some of the common ones that we populate that with. We also have a lot of companies that just have homegrown, databases or homegrown spreadsheets that we just bring in to seed the CMDB, and then the CMDB is updated as the golden source going forward. So we have a couple different ways that we can do that. And that information can be put in any one of these different device objects, or if there's a need for a unique type of configuration item that you have, we can add additional objects as well. Let me take you into a network device just so you can get a look at it. The other thing we can do with the integrations with Cherwell, which is kind of nice, is that you can bring in information, like Altiris is a common one for some of the desktop stuff. We bring in some core information like the asset tag and the serial number and some of the things that are pretty static. But for things like seeing real time what the software is that's on a laptop, we can also do a view out to Altiris so that we're always having a real-time view of that and not having to bring in and replicate all the data. So we can bring in a subset of data and view out real-time to another set of data. So in the configuration item, we have some of the common things that you would expect. We can tie them to changes. Let's see, does this one have any changes that it's associated to? No incidents. If there are any incidents or changes open against this network device, they would be shown here as well. We can do visualization on this. If you want to see upstream and downstream devices that are associated. So this is like this is sort of like the show-off one right here. Just because it's showing all of the different relationships that have been built for all of the different configuration items. Some of this can come in from automation, but usually not too much. So what most customers do is identify what their core applications are and the core infrastructure that's associated with that, and then go ahead and do that mapping so that in their change processes and in their incident processes, those core relationships are viewable. So it is powerful. It's just some of it is, you just have to pick and choose the areas that are critical to you and what makes sense to maintain for that upstream, downstream mapping. We have an owner usually of the configuration item. Some customers have extended this to be the business stakeholder, and then you can use that information for your approvals in your change tickets if you want as well. Okay, you can have, remember I'd mentioned that you can have SLAs based on the different configuration items, and so this is where you would populate that. Any questions that you have on configuration items, bringing them in, capturing the assets that are associated with them? Any questions in general?
I don't have any, but this kind of reminds me of a tool I used to use called Heat.
Oh, okay. To capture that kind of information, or the way it looks?
Yeah, just the way it looks.
Okay. I'm hoping that's okay. So let's see, what else? Let me take you out of here then. If there's no other questions around configuration, we'll go out and look at project or different views of the portal. I'm kind of open to whatever works for you.
The project would be great.
Okay.
And the biggest thing on our project is that they touch every area of our software development. So we would need to see kind of how, from beginning to end, how that would probably look.
Yeah, so I think it might be two different pieces. So the project out of the Cherwell project, what they call a project, is just an encompassing bubble of what you think of as like a big IT project, like a big upgrade initiative or a big data center move. And then the other piece that we'll talk about, though, is if you're talking about more tracking application lifecycle kinds of things, then we can talk about that, but it's a different construct. So which one do you, of those two buckets, what do you think your project is more like?
Can you repeat that one more time, please? I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure. How about this? It was kind of an unfair question because I hadn't given you all the information. So let me show you a project within Cherwell, what they use as project, and then see what the delta is and how that's filled in by other areas of Cherwell, okay?
Okay.
So I put here's an example project that's in here. In this case, there's a need to restructure an Active Directory. There was a merger in the company, and now we have 5 OUs. We need to get it down to 3 OUs, and there's going to be a lot of work in order to restructure Active Directory. This is way bigger than just a single change request. So in this case, this project has a business case associated with it. There are different deliverables that are going to be associated with that project, in this case an architectural design and a functional design, because there's going to need to be new hardware put in, as well as at some point the deliverables would be things like, I don't know, training, just lots of things that would take place in the life cycle of the project. There are different cost items that are associated. Some of them are hardware, some of them are labor. You can identify who the project members are of the project. In this case, we have a team member and then the sponsor. You can capture risks and issues. There may be configuration items associated with it. You can track meeting minutes in here as well. You can have tasks that are associated with the project. So in this case, we already know there are a couple of tasks. We get the new equipment, install the new equipment, which is dependent on the prior task being completed, set up a testing schedule. So those tasks, as they're assigned to people, show up in that team and that person's dashboard out on that front dashboard view of my work. This is just the journal that of all of the changes that were made to this project record. It can be associated with a higher level portfolio item. So the portfolio typically has multiple projects underneath it. And if there are change requests that are associated with the project, in this case, there's a change request that to install new equipment because a new server has to be put in place for this Active Directory project. So then as you add cost items to the project, right now I have 2 of them. If I add additional cost items, it's going to debit from the budget. And then I can also keep track of the budget health, the schedule, and the different risk items to give sort of like a red light, green light, yellow light view of what the overall project status is. So that's what project in Cherwell means. The out-of-box one is that overarching project structure to track the health and the budget, the deliverables, and any of the tasks that are associated with it. So Tiffany, tell me in your world what project means to you.
I do apologize. I just kind of got sidetracked. Some things were going on behind me here.
No problem.
So for us, our projects are, or what it means to our environment, it's mainly like implementation. So we actually, meet with our clients. The project actually starts right after the sale should finish. But with us, 9 times out of 10, our project managers come on board even before the paperwork's signed. So there's a lot of work that's being done prior to getting that contract signed, and our project managers are kind of the keepers of that. So we don't actually have budgets. We go based off of the service that we are to provide.
Okay.
So we don't actually work with actually budgets.
Okay.
So Tiffany, for your business specifically, because I don't think Mary Lynn was on our original call, so that project would potentially be, for example, signing up a new customer that you're going to provide IT support for?
Yeah, not just IT support, but actually a product.
Or a product, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's mainly a product. We're selling them a service.
Okay, and so what kind of a life cycle do you track on that?
We typically don't, because there's not actually any physical equipment or anything like that. Actually, some of our projects can take up to 18 months to complete, sometimes 24 months. So it just depends on, I can't really answer that. There's really no life cycle right now.
Yeah, I mean, so this type of overlay could work for you potentially, because for your products, there are going to be multiple tasks that have to happen in order for that to be.
Yeah, you're correct. You're correct. So
okay.
that would work.
Yeah, and budget doesn't have to be used, but it does have a nice way of tracking the tasks and then the changes that would be associated if you actually have to make infrastructure changes or move applications into production. That part can be tracked in here as well. And then the change request.
I like the risk and issues.
I'm sorry?
No, I'm saying I like the risk and issues, like the actual issues that come up as we stand them up. So.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Marilyn.
No.
So I was going to say one of the other elements in Project 2 that you saw earlier, I think maybe even an incident, is the ability also to track time, so we can track time to the project as well.
That'll be a great benefit.
Oh, good. Okay, I didn't even think about that.
So that we can see the actual man hours that we're investing to do, certain things, or we want to see the actual man hours we invest over the course of the entire project.
Oh, that's excellent. So what we're doing right now, Tiffany, on our, and this is a facilities side that is asking for this, but it would still have the same kind of playback here. So what they have work orders instead of incidents. And in their work orders, they are tracking their time, and then we're rolling that labor, that all of the time in those work orders up into cost items within the project. And in this case, it doesn't have to be cost for you, but at least it's a labor tracking thing. So this project then would have a view of all of the different time pieces that have been used against this project. And so that project's associated with that work order or that incident, and then it can be rolled up to the project.
Okay. And it would also be great to see, let's say the project manager is using this piece of it, if they do need someone or they reach out to another team, like another engineer, they could see the list of projects that are assigned to that engineer. So they can see how many other clients that engineer is working on at any given time.
Yep, I agree. And at that point, that's why it's really important to have those people, whether they're technical or not, as part of the project membership, because membership can be, have different meanings. But let me just pick somebody here, or an admin. And then if they're a team member, then they become associated with this. And then when you list out the project members, you can see what all of the projects are that they have now been added to. Okay. Very cool. Okay, so that's project. We don't have to do the budget piece of it, but it has a lot of the constructs that I think sound like they would be useful for you, especially the linkage then to the more deep task work that has to be done as well. Okay, very cool. Do you want to, let me take you out into the admin tool just to show you a couple things on that side. My system doesn't die before that. All right, so a couple of things. I'm not an expert at this, but that actually ought to speak well to Cherwell configuration, because that's not my job, and I still know a lot about it. So what we really like with Cheryl, we've worked with a lot of other enterprise tools, my team has, and there are some of those tools that I won't hire anybody unless they have at least 7 years experience, because they're just difficult to configure, and you have to have lots and lots of hours under your belt. And with Cherwell, a lot of the stuff that made those tools really cumbersome, like JavaScript programming and RAD programming, that's already been pulled together and made into another level generation of configuration, so that it's English, it's drag and drop, it's visual. So I just want to take you into 3 different areas quickly. Do I still have you for another 10 minutes?
Yeah, you still have me, Richard. You're good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, perfect. So let me just show you a couple of things that I think will highlight some of the different areas of configuration. And Eric and Brandon will keep me on his tail astray. So I'm taking you into the automation process area here, and there are really 3 types of automation processes. There's the simple based, send an email, just click something and go. Then there's a threshold-based kind of action. For example, if I get more than 10 incidents in the past 5 hours that have a service of email, automatically open up a problem. So that's more of a threshold-based kind of automation. And then there's some that have a visual workflow that are associated with them. So I'm going to take you into one of those. Okay, let's see. Here's my not touched in 3 days here. Let's go look at this one. So the first thing you're going to see is, wow, pictures. I mean, this is good for me. I have colors and pictures and large fonts, so I'm happy already with configuration. But seriously, I mean, it's one of those things where if you look over here on the left, you see lots of different things that you can drag and drop over here. I can drag and drop if I want to set up another email as part of the string. I can see that in these different events that I have here, which is waiting, so this is waiting for the 3 days to happen. I have events, start it when the incident is created. I have a time limit, which is 3 days. And so you see none of this is coding and if-then-else's that you're having to go in there and do. So then if it's not 3 days yet, it's going to go back and it's going to wait again. And then if it is 3 days, it's going to run this thing called a one-step. And that one-step is going to do a bunch of different things to escalate that ticket and send out an email. So what I wanted to highlight here is that you got the drag and drop, you've got lots of things that you can do within the automation process that don't take code and they're easy to modify. So one of the things that I wanted to highlight here, come on. So, you know, we have lots of email integration, and it's really good. You can email to anywhere, and we can have multiple email monitors. But what I like about this is setting up the templates, which is really easy. So if I just right-click on this one, I can say I want to know what category is part of this, and I want to have any of the comments in here, and I want to send this to, let's see, my requester. There's my person. So I can have a lot of different things that are in here that I just go and pick the fields from the object to put into the template. So I'm not having to type in lots of things and put lots of variables in here to say what it is I want as part of the template. I can just pick those fields and put them into the template as well. So this is the automation process, which is, I think, pretty cool. To be able to drag and drop and have things that are really English in order to put your thresholds and your actions against. And the thing that I wanted to show you, because I know I have limited time here with you, is, you know, one of the things back here when I didn't get to take you into that actual request, but when we created this new employee setup, and I requested this from the portal, one of the things that happened over here was that I had tasks that were automatically created. Okay, and these are the tasks that my fulfillment teams are going to have to do. And so for new employee setup, I have these different tasks that are created. And so if I go over into the different one steps that we have available, let me go in and just show you what that looks like. So here are the different tasks for the new employee setup, and you can drag and drop these tasks and have different things that are associated with these tasks. And you notice up here at the top, I see that there is an expression, which is what this really is showing here. And if one wanted to see what that is, I can see that it says specifics, network access needed. So if you remember back when we were at the portal on that specific form, there was a checkbox there that said, do I need network access? And so in this case, it's showing that in the visual workflow for the tasks, that a couple of these have expressions that are checked to determine whether they're even created or not. So again, we've got this visual workflow with the drag and drop, with the English types of fields that are available here. to help with the configuration of it. You guys have any questions? I know that was like winging through it in 8 minutes, but hopefully just the fact that you're seeing all these common things on the left here that are drag and drops, and being able to expose the database in the fields on the objects to be able to use in this workflow should highlight some of the ease in the configuration.
Okay.
And the one other thing I wanted to show you is this thing called mergeable applications. So, Bill, you have you have some good information around this while I'm pulling this up, but it actually won some awards, I believe, right?
Yeah, I mean, it won a innovation award, I think, last year for an IT innovation award. I don't know if it was maybe IDC or Forrester or somebody who gave them that. And basically, mergeable apps it's basically a online community of Cherwell, its customers and its partners, where you can create applications or different sets of functionality and then go share them through an online community, either for free or for a charge amongst other Cherwell users. It's pretty slick. Cherwell loads up a lot of enhancements through that. So like the customer surveys, the release management functionality in Cherwell, a lot of those types of pieces you download right off of the mergeable app library, and in 5 minutes you have that functionality inside your system.
Yeah. So an example of that is that a lot of people, after they used the tool for a while, wanted to have something that was on behalf of, so submit on behalf of. And so you can pull down a mergeable app that exposes fields called, request on behalf of. We have a couple of them up there for customer-based approvals, category, and some of our portal designs as well. But it's just a really nice area that you get. It's free software. It's free community applications that you can add to your implementation. Lots of integrations published by Cherwell, as you can see here. Okay, and then the one other thing that we wanted to hit, can you guys see this, my PDF here?
Mm-hmm.
So, Bill, can you take us through this?
Yeah, you want to
advance? I do apologize, guys. Hey, real quick, I have another meeting that just started at 2:30.
Okay.
Oh, okay. No problem.
Yeah.
We'll send these over to you.
Can we? Okay, that'd be great. Can you send us the recording too, so we can get that out for the other people who will assist us in making the decision?
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll send you all this information over. We'll do a follow-up and see what the next steps are.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.